name is David Hand, and I'm a nature photographer living. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
In western Schuylkill County, and I'm here to show you pictures and video that I took of the magnificent marbled salamander, Ambostomia opaquum. I am by no means an expert, but after finding my first larva some years ago in a mostly frozen vernal pool, I became fascinated with this amazing creature and its life cycle. I wanted to learn all that I could about this salamander through reading, but mostly through my own personal observations and many hours of the field, being in the field. It turned out that day in February that the marbled larva I found was a record for Dauphin County. Marbled salamanders are unusual in that they are the only opaquum species in our area that breeds in the fall. Other Ambostomia species that we have in Pennsylvania are spotted, Muscellacum, Jefferson's, Jeffersonium, and blue spotted lateral, which breed in late winter and spring. Marbled salamander description. Marbled Ambostomia opaquum are black and white cross bands across the head, back, and tail. I like to tell people that they look like a checkerboard, in that their coloration is like a fingerprint, in that I have never seen two with markings and coloration exactly the same way. I think I'm going to be all right. The range of the marbled salamander includes most of southeastern United States, west to Texas and Oklahoma, through the Midwest into Pennsylvania and New York, the northern limit ending in southern New Hampshire. Here in Pennsylvania, marble can be found in south central, central, and eastern counties as far north as Lycoming. It has also been seen in Butler County in the west, and I am sure many other counties just waiting to be discovered. Classification. Marbled salamanders belong to the family of Ambostomia salamanders, also referred to as mole salamanders, because of spending their lives mostly underground. Ambostomia are characterized as being bigger salamanders with stout, heavier bodies. Adult Ambostomia also have lungs. Excuse me. Thanks for bearing with me. Reproductive strategy. Vernal pools are temporary pools that fill with water in depressions in the winter and spring from rain and snow. They play a key role in the reproductive strategy of the marbled salamander as well as other Ambostomia species. A whole host of creatures depend on these fragile wet areas for a place to breed and continue their life cycle. They are free of fish that would prey on their eggs and young. You can find many kinds of frogs, all using and depending on vernal pools. Marbled arrive at the vernal pools for mating in the fall. I have found marbled salamanders at pools as early as August. After the male and female pair up, a male deposits a spermatophore, which the female positions herself or cloacia over the sperm cap and picks up the seminal fluid, thus fertilizing her eggs. Now these are spermatophores from the spotted salamander. I don't have any from the marble, but that just gives you an idea. Those are underwater. The spotted salamanders deposit theirs underwater.
And they deposit those in the spring.
The spotted.
The spotted, they deposit.
Yes, ma'am. In a normal year, when they show up for mating, they find the vernal pools dry. Let's see if this works. This is the vernal pool. That's how they usually find it in the fall. And they go under these logs, just like that, make their nests, deposit their eggs. The female makes a nest under logs by digging out a depression and deposits anywhere from 50 to 200 eggs. There's a female with a nest. That was the first female I ever found with eggs in a nest.
And all those black logs are eggs?
Yes.
And you had to move the log to find her?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So they don't lay their eggs in the water?
Not the marble.
They lay them in a moist area on land.
Right.
But
it's
the larvae gotta go in there.
It's complete. I'm sorry.
I can't see.
The larvae go into the water.
You all right?
We'll get to that. But yes.
Okay, all right.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Ask questions. That's good. But
You all right?
the Jeffersons, which are out now, are already breeding, and you spot it. They lay their eggs in the water. You're right. Female broods the eggs and embryos develop into the hatching stage after about 15 days. Depending on the conditions, high water, I have seen eggs and embryos that have taken up to a month to develop to the hatching stage. The following is from the wonderful book, Salamanders of the United States by James Patrica. Eggs will not hatch until they are inundated by water. When eggs are covered by water, embryos become oxygen starved. This triggers the release of a digestive enzyme that dissolves the egg capsule, allowing the embryo to escape. So you can find, excuse me, there's another female with her eggs. And there's just a nest of eggs. Females has left already, but they are fine to develop on their own, and they do. So you can find hatched larvae from fall or not until the following spring, whenever the eggs become inundated by water. I have seen newly hatched larvae in October or not until February. What keeps the eggs and embryos from freezing through a long, harsh winter, like many other things in nature, is a mystery. I have read that females stay with the eggs until hatched, inundated by water, but I found that not to be the case. Depending on water levels, females leave the eggs in about a month, if not sooner. Unattended eggs are fine to develop on their own. In the last 2 years, 2017 and 18, when the marble get to their vernal pools for mating, they have found them flooded with water. But females know exactly what to do and make their nest at the margins of the water. There's a nest I found in sphagnum moss at the edge of the water. And there are the embryos developing. And that nest was actually on this little island. Right there. I have also seen marble, upon reaching the normal dry vernal pools, instead finding them full of water, anxious to mate, seemingly not knowing what to do, enter the water and drown. They are not the swimmers, their cousins, the spotted or the Jeffersons are. And these were drowned ones that I found. Nest at the margins of the pools. This nest that I found was right there under those sticks, which you'll see in a minute. There's my photographic tank, which is over on the table. The nest, that's the same nest under, oops. Yeah, right there. And there you can see her, right there. She has a little mud, and there she is. And there's one of her eggs.
So she actually, that's buried then, or semi-buried.
Well, yeah, that was unusual because of this, the vernal pool being flooded. And she had to make her nest along the edges of the pool. And she actually covered herself with mud under that little log I showed you. Yeah, right there she is. But yeah, she made a little dome of mud for her and her eggs. There I took some of the mud away. But when I left her just like I found her.
She wasn't disturbed by your taking
No.
the mud off her. She just stayed there.
Right. You got to be very careful. Yeah, this is going to work. Yahoo! There's her nest and her egg. She's already left. That was just a couple of days later. But the eggs are fine. There they are. There's her nest and her eggs. In fact, you're going to see in a minute that these are actually ready to hatch.
Are the eggs about the size of peas?
Yeah, that's a good. Yeah, peas.
How large is the female?
Oh, geez. So I've seen them anywhere from 6 to 8 inches. They're always bigger than the males.
How much bigger? 1, 2 inches bigger?
Yeah, I would say an inch, 2 inches. But if you look, you can see the embryos moving inside of the eggs. This is a long video, but it really gives you an idea. But she's gone, and these guys are already to hatch. They're just waiting for water, which they got in the next week, and then they all hatch. The eggs dissolved, and they were gone. Just bear with this in a minute, but I believe it's this guy here. You can see his eye.
So when the vernal pool freezes over in the winter, they burrow into the mud if the vernal pool disappears before the winter.
Yeah, this guy. These are definitely ready to hatch.
And like what month was this picture taken?
This was taken in October.
October. Like maybe a warm fall day.
It was there.
Wow.
And there you can see his eye. I'm sorry, what was your question? No.
Oh, okay, so then the water comes up, their shell dissolves, but vernal pools sometimes disappear in the winter. So what happens because they have gills, right? They have external
Right, we're
gills.
going to talk about that a little
Okay.
bit later
Sorry.
on, but no, I know what you mean. They can and do dry up after they hatch, and I'm sure a lot die. You'll see
Or
that.
they don't take refuge in. I mean, the mud wouldn't do for them.
I've never seen it. I thought so too at first when I first started looking into this. They would bury themselves down in the mud, the larva.
External gills probably can't take that up then.
Right. And we'll see a little bit of that later on. The problem with females laying their eggs at the margins of the pools, because they have no other choice, is that a lot of the time the pools are already at their highest point, and the eggs never become inundated with water, which is necessary for hatching. I have personally rescued eggs that I found developed but out of water by putting them in the water so hatching can take place. Embryo development. Pictures 21 through 29 all show embryo development. But there you can see the eye. There you can see his little forelimb. But these guys are ready to hatch. There you can see gills. Boy, I'll get the hang of this, honest, I will. There you can see its gills. There's an eye, the tail. There's the eye. There's a forelimb. There's a little tiny forelimb. There's the tail. There's the gills, there's the eye. Gills. You can see the eye. We'll talk about this little gizmo a little bit later.
So are they born completely white?
Oh no, that's the white you're seeing is the belly.
Okay, so they have their spots on there.
See there you can see the top of the larva. See it's all mottled color green. And they have a row of spots on the side. You can see their eyes, tails, and gills and forelimbs develop. It should be noted that because this nest was in sphagnum moss that kept the eggs clean and clear, I was able to get these pictures of the embryo developing. Most nests are usually covered with dirt, and the eggs become soiled, and it is almost impossible to follow the embryo growth. I was very fortunate to locate this particular eggs. Video 30 and 31 show embryo and embryos moving inside their eggs. This particular nest I found last fall, these guys didn't make it. They got inundated before they were ready to hatch and they all perished, which happens a lot. There you can see them moving inside their egg, but they were not ready when they were inundated and they all drowned. If the eggs become inundated by water before the embryos develop to the hatching stage, they will perish and die. The following pictures and video were taken on November the 21st, 2018, the day before Thanksgiving. A very cold 35 degrees and windy day, but it was one of the finest days in the field for me personally. The one thing I thought I would never get to see, the hatching of marbled salamander eggs. After carefully removing the top layer of sphagnum moss of a known nest that I've been watching since first being found in October, there in the tiny pockets of water in the moss I saw for the first time the hatching larva. What a privilege and humbling experience this was for me. It's times like these that I am really glad that most times I am by myself, because I really get excited. Sometimes the things I feel privileged to see in nature can bring me to tears. It can make me feel so small and insignificant. It's just the way I like to feel. The wonder and power of nature can be so humbling. As stated, when embryos develop to the hatching stage, they will not and cannot hatch until covered by water. It takes a few hours or several days for the larva to hatch after becoming inundated by water, the eggs dissolve enough for hatching to occur. Pictures 32 and 34 through 34 show embryos hatching, and you can clearly see in some of the pictures the dissolved egg around the larva. This is actually two larvae, but you can see what's left of the egg. But here, these are two larvae that are hatching. That one's on its back, but you can see the little row of spots, and over here's another one. There you get a better look, but there you can see the gills, the eye, the row of spots. There you can see the other one a little bit better. This is an embryo that didn't develop. Here we got some video. But you can see what's left of the egg there. And we'll talk about that little thing moving there. That was pretty neat. I didn't know what I was looking at. Sometimes I'm amazed at my pictures when I don't see these things till I actually see my pictures. But these are in the process of hatching. There that little white thing is. It's a little insect. Maybe a water flea. On video 37, you can see what is left of the dissolved egg. Notice the aquatic insect with the larva. Water flea, I'm not sure. Is it feeding on the dissolved egg, or is it some sort of parasite feeding the larva? I do not know. Balancers. I would like to take a minute to talk about the amazing balancers. Last spring, I noticed some appendages on the head of developing Jefferson embryos. Now that's a Jefferson larva inside the egg. But I saw these little things on its head. They're the gills. Jeffersons don't hatch with forelimbs. And that's after it was hatched. And again, you can see these antennae sticking out of its head. I didn't know what I was looking at. Well, this is on a, that's again on a Jefferson's. This is on our newly hatched spotted. You can see the same things, these little tiny rod-like projections. I could not figure out what I was looking at, let alone what they were for. After some inquiries, was sent the following fascinating explanation. The following is from the book Biology of Amphibians by William E. Dolman and Linda Traub. Balancers are paired rod-like projections that develop on the head of many pond-type larvae. In some species, they are reabsorbed before they hatch. In others, they persist until the developing forelimbs have become fully functional. During the interim, the balancers, along with the extended forelimbs, seem to keep the larva from sinking into the muddy substrate and help the larva maintain its balance during its first feeble attempts at locomotion using its forelimbs. I thought that was pretty neat. I realized that I could not remember seeing them on marbled larvae. Last fall, again due to the clean, clear eggs, I was excited to document balancers on the head of developing marbled embryos.
They don't use their tails for movement in water?
Yes, they do. These just help them balance at first. But there I could see these little projections on the marbled larva. There you can clearly see it sticking out from his eye. And these are hatched marbles last fall. But you can see what's left of these tiny rods. The balancers. That red thing in the middle being its heart. Here's its forelimbs. But the balancers. Although not as pronounced as Jefferson's and spotted larvae, perhaps due to the fact that marble hatch with a more developed forelimb. Hatched and developing larvae. When Endostomia pacman hatch, they are approximately 10 to 20 millimeters in length. They're pretty tiny. But again, there's the heart. Forelimbs and the rear limbs hind limbs haven't developed yet. That's how I find them in the fall. On leaves, and it can be hard to see, but you stand there long enough, they start. I like the shadow there with the gills.
Now that's in water?
Yes. Newly hatched larva pictures, 50 through 51, showing tiny forelimbs, heart, and ribs.
How do you tell the forelimbs from the external gills?
Well, you have to look, but right there they are, the little toes, and there's the being the gills. There's its intestines. They all have this really nice, you'll see it later on, these nice row of spots. There's the forelimbs. There you can see his toes. There's a nice picture of the heart, and he's taking a poop. But there you can see his little forelimbs.
The forelimbs are located just behind external gills.
Yes, and lower than the gills. Again, there's the heart. I like this picture here. It's kind of the way the sun was hitting, but you can see the tiny row of ribs along the side. There's actually a little bit of bouncer left. Am I doing all right, Kristen?
Oh yeah, this is really fascinating.
Okay.
I
I
know.
mean, when you go like that, I'll know that.
Yeah. Listen, we will be doing that.
I just threw this in because of just to get an idea of the size, but it's not really accurate. I haven't really found a good way to take measurements with my tank. The ruler, the glass, and it distorts it, and that's just to give you an idea of size. When the tiny larvae spot something to eat, they simply get close enough, open their mouths quickly. This creates a suction that draws the tiny morsel into its mouth. This is a strategy that they will use for the rest of their lives as larvae when hunting prey. Video 56 shows, yeah. This was a couple of falls ago, but you can hear the katydids in the background. But they have this beautiful spot. I think they're so beautiful. Now these are all backlit. These had actually washed out of a vernal pool in a small stream, and the stream dried up. There was, I think I rescued 150. They wouldn't have stood a chance in this little depression in the ground, and I moved them back into the vernal pool. But that's how I got these nice pictures later in the day. But you can see the intestines clearly, and the little red thing is the heart. See some little tiny insects that they would be feeding on.
What generally do they eat?
Uh.
They're not vegetarians, and they eat.
No, they'll eat almost anything, including each other. They really prey on each other. I'll talk about that a little bit later too. Tiny insects. I kind of like looking at my pictures.
We do too.
This pictures 60 and video 61 and 62 show larvae under very thick ice on a very cold and windy day. Actually, the ice was 3 inches thick. When the water becomes cold, I would like to say though, they're mostly when they're hatched, they're in the leaf litter surrounding the vernal pool. But when the ice starts getting thicker, it goes all the way to the bottom in the shallows, and they know to get out of there and get into the middle of the pool. Maybe that helps.
Yeah.
Where there's still some water left, and I slid my big fat butt out on this ice, and you could see them scurrying under the ice just to get these pictures. But that's as clear as I could get it. Yeah, that's a video, but that's as clear. It was very thick ice. I was amazed I could find them and that they were even moving around. When they saw me, they were fleeing for their lives. This one's under ice too, but it wasn't near as thick. But it's under ice. When the water becomes cold, the larvae become very slow and growth rate really slows down. This picture 63 shows many dead larvae together with live larvae. This die-out occurred in February of 2017. Right after the larvae hatched, there was a sudden and sharp temperature drop that froze the vernal pool solid for a month. And I believe the larvae, having just hatched, were shocked by the cold and also may have become oxygen starved. There were many hundreds dead, but many hundreds had survived. There you can see a These are all dead. There's a live one in the middle. When the weather starts to warm up in March, the water warms, wood frogs return to the vernal pools for breeding. When they lay their eggs in turn become a favorite food source of the marbled larva. You can see hundreds congregating around the eggs, plucking the membrane off the egg masses. It seems to cause no harm to the eggs, and later in April, when the spotted salamanders lay their eggs, they also can be found eating the eggs as well. Eating their eggs as well. Picture 65. Now that's with they're eating the membrane off of the spotted eggs. They seem to really like it to hide in there too.
Are you saying that they only eat the membrane, they don't eat the larva?
No, I've never seen. They just pluck that film off the outside of the eggs. I've never seen them eating the eggs and the larva in them. But here you can see how they're just plucking that membrane off the wood frog eggs. And boy, they know where they're at too. I call this the angry larva. He doesn't look too happy. But he's in the middle of spotted eggs there. I put this in because you can really see how he uses his forelimbs. This doesn't have hind limbs yet. And they have these massive gills, but you can see how he just crawls. There you can see the tiny hind limbs just starting. There's a water flea. That would be a good food source. Also, okay. You can also see larvae really starting to grow on all this varied and rich diet. That guy was eating good. He was doing good. Another interesting food is the amazing and beautiful fairy shrimp. These are beautiful. And you can actually see her, she's carrying eggs.
What's that orange thing on her back or next to her back?
I don't know. I think it was just debris. I threw this in so you can see how these fairy shrimp move around, undulating. They're really beautiful. Please don't ask me what that is, because I don't know.
Mosquito larva.
Yeah.
Looks like mosquito larva.
I believe that right there is mosquito larva. That's what I've come to the conclusion it is. There's the same female with eggs. Yeah, that was mosquito larva. I would like to mention. See, I'm up here. You're out there. So, thanks. I would like to mention at this time that I've seen 3 different ambistoma larvae in a vernal pool at different stages of development at the same time. The largest due to breeding in the fall is always the marble, followed by the Jeffersons, which breed in late winter and early spring, depending on ice out, followed by spotted, which you can start to see again depending on the weather in March. Pictures 74 through 76 show marbled larvae and spotted salamander larvae. I really like these pictures. These are marbled larvae, and then these are spotted salamander eggs with larvae developing. You get a really good idea of size. But these guys will, in no time, will be this size.
And they end up bigger than the marble, don't they? I mean, when they're adults.
Yeah, I think they're not as stout, but they're longer. I like this one here. You can see his toes grasping the egg. And you can actually see a little balancer on the head of the spotted embryo. Right now, I would like to talk about the amazing and mysterious ability of all salamander larvae, and adults for that matter, have to regenerate damaged and missing limbs. It's a hard world living in a vernal pool, but you can imagine the applications to the medical field if scientists can unlock the secrets of this larva regenerating limbs one day. There's lots of predators feeding on salamander larvae. Snakes. I once witnessed a garter snake out on a log trying to catch larvae. Frogs and turtles, raccoons to name a few. But the worst predator that I have found that does the most damage is other larvae. They can and do prey upon each other, not just preying on different species, but preying on larvae of the same species. I didn't know whether to include this or not, but I did. In this vernal pool, I was watching for Jeffersons last spring, watching the larva develop and grow. Out of the darkness came this giant marbled larva, and it was the only one I ever saw in there. And I put the Jeffersons in with the marbled like I like to get a comparison. And I could not find the Jeffersons when I got my equipment set up. Here he was sticking out of the mouth. The marbled ate him that quick. He was gone. And I sure didn't do it on purpose, but I sure like his golden spots he had. I never saw a larva like that, and it's the only one I saw in that pool. I never saw him again. But you can see he has a bite mark out of his tail. So he's eating the Jefferson's larva and having a hard time getting him down because he was big. But he's also been preyed upon. I wouldn't make it in a vernal pool. These are all, we'll talk about the light colored one, but here's a tail that has been severed, and you can see it's actually starting to regenerate. This larva here is missing his whole right forelimb and gills. Both are gone on the right side. There you can see him again. He's missing his right forelimb and his gills. Again, he's missing the right side, gills and forelimb. There's a nice picture of the heart. But here you can see the right toes have been severed, but now they're starting to grow back in again compared to the left side. They're all developed. He's starting to grow back his right toes. It's a nice picture of the heart there. There's a tail bite. That's a common thing you see in vernal pools on larvae, is this tail bite. You can almost imagine the teeth. Here again, missing the right foot. Completely gone. Now this was a blue spotted larva that I took up in northern New Hampshire. And you can see the left side compared to the right side has been lost, but now it's starting to regenerate. You can see the toes starting to grow back compared to the left side, but they're starting to come back and they will grow back. There, that shows tail regeneration. By week 23 of their lives, the hind limbs are starting to make an appearance. There you can see them just starting to come out. There you can see them. It's a nice picture. I just love my picture. I'm just kidding. There you can see the hind limbs. They're getting toes on them now. By May, when the water really starts to warm up and there's plenty of food, the larva growth rate really accelerates. I have seen several millimeters of growth in just 2 weeks. Here you can see the heart, intestines. You can see them hind limbs are really starting to come in. These guys are really getting big. Metamorphosis. By June of most years, larvae are starting their metamorphosis to adult salamanders. They're really, really getting big. I like this picture of the gills. Just the way the sun was hitting them, you can see the red. That's the blood inside the gills, getting oxygen out of the water. The larvae are really starting to get big now. At around 50 millimeters, that's 40 millimeters of growth since hatching. They are making frequent trips to the surface for gulps of air as their lungs develop. In southern U.S., where ponds don't freeze and winters are mild, it takes 3 months for metamorphosis to take place. But here in PA, where in some instances the larvae overwinter under ice, the growth rate is very slow and it can take up to 8 months for metamorphosis to occur. And last year I even found larvae into July and August. That's 10 months. In fact, it was almost time for the adults to be heading back to the pools to start mating and the process to start all over again. It seems the last 2 years of abundant water, the larvae have almost seemed hesitant to leave the relative safety of the water. In a normal year, as water levels drop, it seems to stimulate metamorphosis. There is something called Newtonic behavior in tiger salamanders out west in ponds that do not become dry, where some larvae never do metamorphose and stay larvae all their lives, even mating with adult salamanders. I do not know if this is starting to occur with marbled salamanders, but water levels definitely seem to make a big difference as to when metamorphosis occurs. Just maybe climate change is already making its presence felt in the world of the marbled salamanders right here in our area. Here you got one that's just about ready to leave the pond. You can see his gills are all but gone. And you can see it's taking on a different tail shape. Pictures of metamorphosis starting to take place. Gills are all but gone. And it's losing its aquatic tail and taking on the shape it will have for the rest of its life. I like this picture. I gotta stop saying that. Here you got one that has no gills. He's ready to leave. This one still has lots of gills. Same time. This guy's ready to go. He's ready to leave.
About how big is he at that point?
50 millimeters. You want to know in inches, I guess.
I prefer to.
Kristen, what?
2 inches.
2 inches tall.
Thank you. It should be mentioned that in rare instances that I have seen larvae that have been washed into vernal pool overflow streams and have completed metamorphosis, feeding almost exclusively on spotted salamander eggs that have also washed down with the larva. But for this to happen, a constant flow of water is needed. I watched this guy metamorphose in a little brook. You and I were there, Kristen. But you don't remember where, right? Good.
No, it's a secret.
That's good. By the end of, just kidding. By the end of June in most years, metamorphosis has been completed and the larvae leave their watery home as metamorphosed juvenile salamanders and a life on land, never to return to the water again. Not this species, and at best an uncertain future. This is always a both happy and sad time for me, as I have been watching the larvae grow for a long time, and in some cases since the previous fall. The few larvae that are left by the end of June are the last of their kind for the year. I always feel privileged at watching them grow and facing all the predators that feed on them, and in turn watching the larvae become predators themselves. Excuse me. Careful digging in a leaf litter reveals recently metamorphosed marbled salamanders. He just like the water.
When do they get their full coloring, the white, black and white?
You ask way too many questions.
I'm sorry.
You've already exceeded your limit on questions. I'll talk about that soon, I think.
I'll stop.
No, I'm just kidding. Really, I am. It's fine.
You're not the first to have said that.
Yeah, these guys are just metamorphosed. It's an amazing thing to watch. I like this guy. He's got places to go. He doesn't have time for this video stuff. He's cute. Pictures 109 and 1. How long does it take for juvenile adult Ambostomia pacman to develop into adult size and coloration? I do not know. I have read that marbled salamanders are ready for breeding for the first time in anywhere from 1 to 5 years. For me personally, I have found very few. That was the first one I ever saw. For me personally, I found very few adult Aeopatman throughout the year other than breeding season. The adults lead a secretive life away from the vernal pools and not much is known about their lives. But they do seem like other salamanders to be on the move on rainy nights, especially after a long dry spell. If there has been sufficient rainfall, this will make the adults more active and visible closer to the surface. Adults can be found in moist leaf litter under damp logs. In drier times, adult salamanders can be found living up to 40 inches underground. This guy actually has some little tiny insects. That's the picture I used on my card, I think, but he has little tiny insects on his head.
Save them for later.
Adult salamanders are preyed upon by many animals, including snakes, raccoons, owls, and other predators. It has been observed that when Aeopatman feels threatened, it will secrete a milky substance from its tail for defense. This is something personally that I have never witnessed, as I try to avoid handling adults, not to cause them any harm. I always wear protective gloves in the field, again to protect anything that I might handle. This one we found last fall, didn't we, Emily?
Yeah, we did.
I'm sure that was a male. And somebody requested this video. This was in the fall, out in Perry County. But it gives you a good idea of how they move.
When it first started moving, it looked like it had a little tongue or something that came out. You had earlier said that they continued by just opening their mouth and having the suction come in. But
When they're
that-
larvae, yeah.
Only at the larval stage.
Yeah.
Do they actually have a tongue at this point?
When there's questions, I don't know. I don't like them. I don't know. I'm just kidding. I don't really know.
You never took
I-
one by the head and opened its mouth.
No, I avoid handling them. I really do.
Just like an ostrich, he thinks he's not seen now that his
Yeah,
head's
right.
up.
It's hiding.
Marbled salamander diet consists of, among other things, worms, grubs, insects of all kinds, and insect larvae. I'm going to go home and it's in that book over there. Do they have tongues? I don't know.
So they're primarily insectivorous.
Yeah, at adult stage, yeah.
Uh-huh.
It's a humbling and amazing experience watching them go from egg to larva and then growing to reach metamorphosis to complete their life cycle. I never tire of watching this beautiful transformation and always feel a great sense of being humbled by the power and wonder of nature. And you can be sure that I will be back in August as the adult salamanders return to the vernal pools and their amazing story starts all over again. There is always more to learn about this wonderful, amazing creature. Here in Pennsylvania, marbled salamander is a species of concern and as such is illegal to possess one, so I know nothing of the care and raising of them. I had to include that in that reptile, because that magazine is mostly geared towards people who raise reptiles and amphibians. Please check on your individual state laws for laws on possession. All larva pictures were taken in a photographic tank, which I have over there, and immediately released unharmed. I put in some pictures here of some marbled and spotted for just comparison. But spotted being on the bottom, the marbled on the top. They're usually darker, but they both have rows of spots. But this is a great way to tell the difference of larva. The chins. No other larva has this blotchy gray modeling on their chin. See how the spots are nice and clean and clear? White. But that's how you can really tell. There are the spots on the top, marbled on the bottom. I just wanted to take a minute here to thank my wife Beverly of all of her years of support and putting up with me. And I have a Facebook group. I encourage you to pick up a card, member, and join Friends of the Marbled Salamander. And share your experiences, and that's what it's for, to learn. Lunistic marbled salamander, picture 121. It's partial loss of pigmentation. It's not like an albino. It doesn't include the eyes. Right before Christmas of 2017, I was standing in a vernal pool watching Aeopacman larvae, when out of the leaf litter came a larva that took my breath away. With all the other larvae, there was one that looked like a ghost. I have seen thousands of Aeopacman larvae, but have never seen anything that remotely resembled what I was now looking at. I did not have a net or photographic tank, but did get pictures. After research, I was convinced that what I had found that day was a lunistic marbled salamander larva. After receiving some literature on studies on lunistic Aeopacman from Virginia, from friend Sean Hartzell, I knew for sure that I had seen that day was a lunistic larva. Very excited, I was back at the vernal pool and was able to find and catch the larva on January 30th, 2018. But there you can see the difference between that and the regular one on the bottom. But he was just beautiful. I was not able to locate it again until April 30th and was amazed how much it had grown. After that, I was able to find it a lot and document its growth right up to and through metamorphosis. I learned something interesting to me only because of this particular larva. It seems that all larvae stay in the same general area. Pictures 126 and 27 was taken on June 21st. Notice the pink gills, a characteristic of lunistic larva. See how he has those little gold flakes in his gills. And there's compared with the regular.
You say they stay in the same area. Would that be like a 10 square feet or more than that?
Yeah, I would say 10 is good. And I didn't realize that until I was observing this guy week after week. He was always in the same area. The lunistic larva was smaller compared to the normal larva by at least 3 to 5 millimeters throughout its growth. But this picture was taken on July 9th, shows a comparison with normal larva. There's the lunistic one. Look at his little tiny toes. Here's a regular colored one. Shows a comparison with normal larva coloration. Pictures 131, 32, and 33 were taken also on July 9th. He was beautiful. Picture 133 was taken in my net also on July 9th. This was also the last date I saw the larva in the water. Picture 134 was placed on a log and released back into the water. Pictures 135 and 136 show normal coloration for metamorphosis salamanders. He's really quite a white patch there under his chin. On July 20th, 2018, carefully removing leaf litter in the same area adjacent to the water where I had seen the larva all this time, I found an animal which I have no doubt is the same animal metamorphosis. So I was really fortunate. Through this whole experience, I feel very fortunate to have witnessed this special animal all the way through its metamorphosis. I don't know if you want to see all these. These are just videos of the same. I threw in videos. But you could see right through them. There's normal colored one.
You never found them again after you left the pool then, huh?
Just no. I saw him once metamorphosed in the leaf litter, and after that, no. I hope he's okay. I wish him well.
You hide the snow.
Yeah, you're right. I'm giving him talk here.
Okay.
I kid around a lot. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Make fun of it.
Yeah, I feel very, very fortunate. I threw in, but this is a nice. I dropped something. But here you get light. Let's move in side by side. That's actually with regular color larva and a spotted, tiny spotted larva there. It's lovely healing. This is just the end. I thought this was cute. This is a Jefferson larva in my tank, and out of nowhere, this green frog came. He saw this in my tank, and he wanted it bad. And wherever that larva went, he was watching. He saw them. I didn't know what was going on. If you are interested in looking for salamanders and amphibians in Pennsylvania, you are required to have a current fishing license. And if you do go out and explore any wet areas, I strongly encourage you to visit the Pennsylvania Reptile Survey, PARS, website and follow the discontinuance instructions. It is very important to avoid spreading our germs. It is important factor for coming and listening. Please drive safe.